Coming up on Global Business, economic confidence. Top officials express confidence in the Chinese economy during a NPC press conference. Tech innovation, we head to Suzhou in eastern China for a look at how pioneering financial practices are fostering the development of technology. And resurgent tourism. Hong Kong Tourism Board officials anticipate 46 million visitors this year. That's up 35% compared to 2023. And welcome everyone to Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong in Beijing. We start with China's annual political season, where during a group meeting with Chinese political advisors, Chinese President Xi Jinping said 2023 was the first year the guiding principles set forth by the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China were fully implemented. The Chinese president recognized the achievements of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, or the CPPCC, in the past year in its political consultation and policy-making suggestions. Xi urged political advisors from the Revolutionary Committee of the Chinese Kuomintang to unite with all patriotic forces at home and abroad and in Taiwan Island that can be united. Xi pointed out that advisors and workers from the sector of science and technology should assume the heavy responsibility of scientific and technological innovation. He stressed that political advisors of the environment and resources sector should make new contributions to strengthen ecological and environmental protection. The Chinese president also said the CPPCC should carry on its fine tradition, stay committed to its political responsibility, actively offer advice, and build consensus. Well, the 14th National People's Congress held a press conference this afternoon. The focus was the Chinese economy. 5 ministers from different economic regulatory bodies answered questions from both domestic and foreign journalists. Our Wang Tianyu was on the ground.
First of all, the chair of the National Development and Reform Commission, Zheng Shanjie, has summarized China's economic achievements in last year. Unsurprisingly, high-tech is the main topic. He said the high-tech manufacturing sector expanded 5.9% year-on-year in 2023, which is 3.4 percentage points higher than the overall manufacturing sector. For 2024, he said that around 5% GDP growth target is reasonable and positive. It is aligned with the 14th Five-Year Plan and the potential of China's economic growth.
Looking ahead, there will be more favorable conditions than unfavorable ones for China's economic growth in 2024, and the momentum of economic rebound will be further consolidated and reinforced. We have strong underpinnings in place for the economy in both short and long-term cycles.
Also, Commerce Minister Wang Wentao has warned that the situation of foreign trade will be very serious this year due to the global uncertainties and weakening foreign demand. But the Commerce Ministry will make all efforts to ensure a stable growth in foreign trade, such as providing financial services for foreign trade companies, especially the small and medium-sized ones, and also hold national-level exhibition events like the CIIE, Hainan Expo, and Hangzhou Digital Trade Expo.
Going on, the industrial base, the factors endowments, and especially innovation capabilities that underpin foreign trade are constantly strengthening. So our export commodities are climbing up the value chain. And there are more opportunities to increase our import market share. So foreign trade shows strong resilience.
And also in that press conference, key officials from the Ministry of Finance, the People's Bank of China, that's China's central bank, and the China Securities Regulatory Commission also answered questions about their own regulatory domains. Take a listen.
The
CPC Central Committee decided that in 2024, we will intensify counter and cross-cyclical adjustments through macro policies, continue to implement a proactive fiscal policy and a prudent monetary policy. This is a major decision made by the CPC Central Committee from a strategic and overall perspective based on full consideration of the situation.
The current situation at home and abroad is still complex and fluid. Thus, it is necessary to apply system thinking and take a coordinated and balanced approach. We still have enough tools and enough policy room for maneuvers. We will strike a balance between the short and long term, between stabilizing growth and preventing risks, and between internal and external equilibrium. We will strengthen counter-cyclical and cross-cyclical adjustment, boosting confidence, improve expectations, and keep prices stable so as to create a sound monetary and financial climate for realizing the economic and social development goals.
We need to strengthen investor protection in terms of laws, institutions, regulatory enforcement, and judicial practices so as to give them greater trust and confidence in the market and attract more investors, especially long-term capital, to the market. In the meantime, we need to raise the quality of listed companies and better leverage the leading role of businesses to boost the value of investment.
Well, starting with 1 trillion yuan this year, or nearly 140 billion US dollars, China will start to issue ultra-long special treasury bonds for the next few years. That's according to a government work report submitted on Tuesday. So what are these bonds and what makes them special? Let's take a look.
Ultra-long special treasury bonds are a fiscal policy instrument geared towards the long haul. As stated by the chairman of China's top economic planner in the press conference on Wednesday, starting from this year, the country will use these bonds each year in the coming years, implementing major national strategies and building up security capacities in key areas.
As the first step, the funds will mainly be used to support scientific and technological innovation, integrated urban-rural development, coordinated development among different regions, food and energy security, and high-quality population development.
According to Zheng Shanjie, the issuance of these bonds is a decision that has both long-term impact and an immediate benefit.
Issuing the long-term treasury bonds can help avoid large fluctuations in fiscal expenditures, enhance the intensity of our proactive fiscal policy, and improve its quality and effectiveness. This year's fiscal policy, including these bonds, shows China's fiscal policy toolkit is getting more adequate.
According to the government work report, 1 trillion yuan equals to 139 billion US dollars of such bonds will be issued this year. It's poised to play a crucial role in supporting stable economic operations and will provide financial backing for some of the country's key projects. Lou Qinjian, spokesperson for the second session for the 14th NPC, told at a press conference on Monday that the 1 trillion yuan treasury bond issuance for 2023 has been fully allocated, supporting over 15,000 projects. It will effectively ensure and improve the livelihood of the people in disaster-affected areas. Analysts also say that the long-term treasury bonds is particularly important for some local government, which lack stable financial means to promote economic development, to better meet challenges amid the structural adjustment in local debt and the real estate sector.
Well, Suzhou, a city in eastern China's Jiangsu province, has emerged as a leading hub for tech innovation, leveraging its robust manufacturing industrial chain as a strong foundation. Now, to further advance innovation, Suzhou's financial system is also pioneering new methods to bolster support for the real economy. Our Ho Jing took a trip to a number of tech companies and financial institutions to find out how innovative financial practices help to support tech development in Suzhou.
In China, bank branches are typically named after different locations, such as the bank branch of Beijing or the bank branch of Shanghai. However, here in Suzhou, a city in eastern China's Jiangsu province, I found a tech branch within the banking system. What is the function of this particular bank branch? Let's find out.
The tech branch is a new addition to our organization. In alignment with China's policies, it can be characterized as specialized, efficient, unique, and innovative. Unlike traditional banks, which often prioritize a company's past performance, financial data, and collateral for loans, we now place greater emphasis on evaluating the future growth potential of enterprises, even if they do not have sales revenue, net assets, and the availability of collateral.
The biopharmaceutical sector is considered a future-oriented industry. However, its lengthy research and development cycles make financial support crucial for driving innovation. During my conversation with Cosel, a medical equipment startup, they revealed that After a decade of development, their parent company achieved financial stability in 2023, thanks to sustained support from multiple financial institutions.
The entire process for a medical device typically spans 5 to 7 years from innovation to certification. ICBC's tech branch evaluates our organization based on the unique characteristics of the medical industry. The tech branch demonstrates an understanding of our needs and grants us flexibility in financial management.
In contrast to slow-paced industries, rapidly evolving sectors demand increased support from diverse financial entities. Time equates to money in the IT industry, particularly within the ever-changing autonomous driving sector. ICBC and the recently established Suzhou Capital Group have collaborated to invest 100 million yuan in supporting the transformation of Rivotech technology.
We're pivoting towards hardware development. This shift necessitates the establishment of robust hardware supply chains and the construction of our own production facility. ICBC has investments in numerous companies within our upstream and downstream industrial chain, many of which are also our clients, paving the way for the formation of an industrial alliance.
Besides research and development, a mature company will also need a lot of financial support during their daily operation.
Suzhou has earned a reputation as a hub for German enterprises. The financial institutions extend comparable investment policies to these foreign firms to support their operations and facilitate further expansion.
Well, yes, we are already here since 25 years now, and indeed we are very, very mature, and we are having now strong growth rates in the market, and we need financing support from banks in various ways. So we need to set up operations there, which we already have in countries like Eastern Europe, Mexico, Thailand, Southeast Asia, India. And this also requires financial means, and we also need to maintain the growth rate of this company.
ICBC is set to introduce a new financial product called the Incubation Loan for Supply Chains to nurture early-stage startups aiming to fortify and supplement industrial and supply chains in China in collaboration with other financial organizations. Hou Jing, CGTN in Suzhou, Jiangsu Province.
Right, and for more on China's economic agenda going forward, I want to bring in Robin Ching, Chief China Economist at Morgan Stanley. Robin, thank you so much for joining us. So, based on the government work report and what we heard today from China's top economic planner, the central bank, we heard from the Commerce and Finance ministries, of course, plus the top securities regulator, how pro-growth has the messaging been from Chinese policymakers?
Thank you for having me, Michael. First of all, the 5% GDP target set by the government work report, that's very upbeat. It's above the consensus of 4.5% made by many institutions. So it's a very upbeat target. Now, the press conference you mentioned by economic ministers provided further details about how are they planning to reach that target with a budget, with fiscal policy details. Basically, there is a larger than expected fiscal carryover from previous years. That could help China to partially counter the tightening effect of deleveraging in local government financing vehicles. So if you look at the special bond, 1 trillion RMB issued in October, November last year, most of it, the proceeds will be transferred to this year for economic activities. So I think that also gave us some details about what is the mix of the policy to reach that target. But overall, I do think China will probably review what's going to happen in the first quarter, second quarter of the year. And if needed, they can deploy even bigger fiscal policy package to reach that target. That's it.
All right, so let's expand on fiscal policy a little bit more, Robin, because we mentioned China planning to issue those ultra-long special treasury bonds to the tune of nearly $140 billion this year. China says it will continue to issue these bonds for the next few years as well. Give us a sense of the scale of this fiscal stimulus. How significant is this, and what implications might it have for domestic demand?
So 1 trillion RMB special bond, what's unique about this is not one-off. This is a multiple-year sustainable stimulus. The press conference mentioned they will keep issuing it in the next few years, focusing on very long-term projects which will serve both goals, economic development and security. Things related to supply chain self-sufficiency, the upgrading of China's manufacturing capacity or green capex transition, these projects will be prioritized with the special new bond. So I do think this is a de facto fiscal easing, making the headline deficit number 3%. That's probably less relevant because there is more beyond that 3%, more than meet the eyes. That is the sustainable special bond to finance these long-term goals over the next few years. Now, I still believe, if needed, China can deploy more. They do have the gunpowder to do something bigger, as much as $1 trillion, because the central government balance sheet is very healthy. The central debt level is only 20% of GDP. So I think this is the beginning of sustainable fiscal stimulus.
Right, so more policy maneuvering room when it comes to fiscal policy from the central government level. So with the issuance of these ultra-long bonds, it does seem like the central government's balance sheet, it will expand to support local governments. So how much will this move go towards alleviating some of the fiscal constraints faced by certain local governments here in China?
Yes, so if you look at China's deleveraging, it's happening in two sectors, housing and local government financing vehicles. In the last 15 years, China had super high growth, but in some part of the growth is also largely fueled by credit, particularly the credit into local infrastructure and housing sector, which will not be sustainable with China's demographics change. Total population start to fade, right? So I do think it's wise to shift away from that credit-fueled model financed in local projects and the housing sector to something more like high quality growth, focusing on productivity. So this special new bond is probably the first step to help try to smooth this process of transitioning. As you said, it can partially counter the tightening effect from the deleveraging in the local sectors.
Okay, and you mentioned productivity as well, Robin. So a development concept called New Quality Productive Forces, that appeared for the first time in China's government work report this year. And based on the language and importance that policymakers have attached to this concept so far, what might this mean for China's productivity growth? Seems like we lost Robin there. Many thanks for his perspectives. Robin Xing, Chief China Economist at Morgan Stanley. Well, the Chinese government has been implementing measures to open up the financial sector, such as insurance to foreign companies. Recently, a senior official from German insurer Allianz discussed that company's outlook on the Chinese market. Take a listen.
Allianz has been deeply engaging in and benefiting from China's financial opening up. We have made very good progress in recent years in building a stronger presence. We set up the first ever 100% foreign-owned insurance holding company, Allianz China Insurance Holding. We were the first to convert a life insurance joint venture into a 100% foreign-owned life insurance company, that is Allianz China Life. And last year, we received the regulator's approval for Allianz's asset management entity, AGI, to set up a fund management company in Shanghai. All these firsts amplifies Allianz's long-term standing as well as unwavering commitment to the Chinese market. Moving forward, we aim to forge stronger collaborations with our sister companies, pooling our strengths and resources to serve customers both locally and globally.
And here on Global Business, we continue to speak with a number of economists from international financial institutions to get their views on China's economic development. Take a listen.
In recent years, China has made a lot of efforts to stabilize and ensure the supply chain and industrial chain, along with increasing investment. Scientific and technological innovation has gradually become the leading force of its modern industrial system. Last year, China's exports maintained strong growth even as global trade declined. Electric manned vehicles, lithium-ion batteries, and solar cells have gradually become the main driving force for China's exports instead of clothing, furniture, and home appliances.
We will soon set up a wholly owned securities company in China. Foreign banks operating in China can provide better products and services and introduce advanced management concepts, including risk management, so financial opening up should be a win-win move.
And to the tourism industry, where from Wednesday, the Chinese mainland cities of Xi'an and Qingdao will be officially covered by Hong Kong's individual visit scheme, expanding the number of mainland cities in that scheme to 51. Eligible residents from designated cities can now apply to visit Hong Kong in an individual capacity, providing a welcome tourism boost. Our Patrick Falk has more.
Well, it's a little bit difficult to say at this point in time just what sort of impact there is going to be. As a matter of fact, there was an article in the South China Morning Post saying that so far the response has been lukewarm. The travel agents said that there hadn't been any particular surge in demand for visits to Hong Kong from Xi'an and Qingdao. There were also people taking to social media and questioning whether or not this really makes any difference, because a lot of people had already been traveling to Hong Kong as individuals on group tour visas. But I think a lot of people would also say that, look, this is still early days and we have to see how this really all pans out. And what this does, importantly, is it legitimizes those solo visits, and it also means now that official channels can be used to promote visitors coming individually from Xi'an and Qingdao to Hong Kong. That is precisely what the Hong Kong government is doing. It announced that the Secretary for Culture, Sports and Tourism, Kevin Yeung, will be traveling to Xi'an on March 12th and to Qingdao the following day, where he will be conducting a fact-finding mission of sorts and attending briefings on tourism. So this is really just the start of all of this happening, and operators of attractions in Hong Kong have also told me that people from Xi'an and Qingdao don't place Hong Kong as a high priority destination to travel to at the moment. So there is certainly potential for growth from those two cities and for it to generate more tourism in Hong Kong.
Now, here on CGTN, we are seeking a global perspective on China's annual two sessions. And today, we turn our attention to Africa. Now, China has been the continent's largest trading partner for over a decade now. And most recently, China has also become the largest provider of foreign direct investment, surpassing the United States. For more on this, we're joined by our Sumitra Naidu in Johannesburg. Sumitra, so what is the African community looking out for at the two sessions that could potentially impact future trade prospects?
Well, I think they're just looking for direction and more certainty. But, you know, China and Africa have and still do enjoy very strong trade relations. China's total trade with Africa stood at just over $282 billion last year, albeit it was a lower increase from 2022, but it was an increase of about 1.5%. So, you know, from the continent, South Africa remains China's largest trading partner, accounting for almost 20% of that total trade. And I think the two sessions may give more direction on future policy, but China is also known for long-term planning and strategy. There's been several big engagements in the last year between China and African leaders to really unpack that with them. Now, while China and Africa, you know, are still working on further strengthening these ties, there has been a slight shift in recent years. From a decade ago, when China experienced its economic boom, it had a huge appetite for raw materials, the demand for resources like minerals and metals and oil, which came from Africa, from across the continent. Now that growth has eased in China. China's domestic needs have changed, and China is no longer looking to Africa for extraction. It's really moving towards increased investments on the continent and partnerships with the Africans, you know, and you're looking at a range of sectors. You're looking at technology, industrial production, agriculture. It wants to work with Africa on job creation and investments in digital technology. You know, I was reading up on the Hunan model, which supports the 2035 vision for China-Africa cooperation. Now, much of this vision is to support African businesses to improve export potential and collaborate in a number of areas that would be mutually beneficial. Agricultural development, of course, for food security, but also medical cooperation, digital innovation. You're looking at areas of green development and capacity building. There's also cultural and educational exchanges, much of which has been in place already, but really what they're looking for is an expansion of that knowledge sharing and education opportunities for Africans on the continent. So I think they just want more policy certainty. If anything, they're looking to that to get that kind of certainty.
All right, Sumitra, many thanks for that report. Our Sumitra Naidu for us in Johannesburg on the economic relationship between China and Africa. Thank you. And with that, we're going to wrap up this edition of Global Business here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wong here in Beijing. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time.